for a bit because we have something happening live. Lindsey Graham is speaking, and with everything going on, we just want to see what he has to say about the government shutdown. Hopefully a deal being made tonight.
To extend the Obamacare subsidies for 3 years failed, and I think they will go to final passage of the Senate bill, and once that is passed, it will go to the President's desk, and hopefully sometimes tonight we'll have the government reopen until January the 30th, and we'll have to revisit all this again. Now, what is this all about? About 42 days ago, Democrats told us they're not going to open the government unless we do two things as Republicans, which were impossible: to repeal the $1.5 trillion in savings we achieved in the big beautiful bill by reforming Medicaid, and we saved a lot of money by making sure illegal immigrants are not eligible for Medicaid. That saved hundreds of billions of dollars. Democrats wanted us to repeal that whole provision. Medicaid had grown by 50% in 5 years, kind of an out-of-control train. So that wasn't going to happen. And the other thing they basically wanted is to extend the expiring Obamacare subsidies, which I didn't vote for, or any other Republican, forever. And we're not going to do that. The Obamacare subsidies are a gravy train for insurance companies. $50 billion would be spent on subsidies that were created during COVID, and COVID is behind us, and all the money goes to insurance companies, and the more people they sign up, the more money they get. Obamacare was a promise that if we pass this bill in 2010, your premiums will go down by $2,500 per family in this country. Since 2010, the premiums under Obamacare have increased over 100% with no end in sight. During that same period of time, the 7 largest health insurance companies in America have seen their stock prices go up like a rocket ship. United Healthcare has had a 1,100% increase in stock prices. The smallest was 500%. So this has been a bill to enrich insurance companies. People's premiums have doubled, and President Trump and I was just talking to him about this coming down, are going to try to take the money that would have gone to insurance companies and give it directly to the consumer so they can buy better health care and lower prices. That debate begins in December. So yesterday, I wrote a check to Upstate Warrior Solutions. It's a veterans group that's kind of a one-stop shop for veterans in Greenville, and I'd like to see that concept spread throughout the state. It's really an amazing organization. I think it's $20,700 something is what my salary is before taxes for the last 41 days, and I made a contribution to them. I really do believe that members of Congress should not be paid during a government shutdown ever, that we should forfeit our pay, not get it back later. The Constitution limits one Congress from changing pay rules during that Congress. You have to do it in the future. So I think the best way to handle this problem in the future is a constitutional amendment that would be very simple. During a government shutdown, members of Congress will forfeit their pay for the entirety of the shutdown. And I'm going to push that as hard as I know how to push it. And I do believe if we had to give our pay up, there'd be less shutdowns. All right, that'll take questions.
Senator, part of the deal to end the shutdown was a provision to allow senators who had their phone records subpoenaed to sue for up to $500,000. Will you be taking advantage of that?
Yeah, I'm very much for the idea if you've been wrong, there should be a remedy. So what happened here is, unbeknownst to any of us, in 2023, there were subpoenas for my personal phone and my official phone by Jack Smith during Arctic frost. Under the contract with the Verizon carrier that the Senate has, they're supposed to notify a senator if anybody asks for phone records. There's a statute that says that basically says the same thing, that a non-disclosure order should not be honored. They violated, in my view, the contract and the statute, and there's no remedy, and we're going to create a remedy for in the past and the future. There was sign off by Democrats because it protects the institution. If I'm subject to a criminal investigation, then the rules apply to me like they would any other citizen. But this wasn't about investigating me or other senators for a crime. It was a fishing expedition. And now we know there are 10 senators had their phone records subpoenaed without a warrant. And I'm going to push back really hard. So this change allows the statute to be amended to create a cause of action. And that will protect the Senate in the future. And it will also cover any Democrats in this Senate this term that may have something happened to them. So
Will you be filing a lawsuit?
oh, definitely. And if you think I'm going to sell this thing for $1 million, no. I want to make it so painful no one ever does this again. Now, on January the 6th, I was on the floor of the Senate saying, no election's perfect, but I voted to certify the election and we must bring this to an end. 2.5 years later, I can't believe that a special counsel would try to find the phone records of 10 senators whose job it was to decide whether or not to certify the election. Who we called, where we called from, without a warrant or any other process, in violation of the contract between the phone company and the Senate, and a statute right on point. So I want to make sure this never happens again. And how do you do that? Make people pay. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I win or not, but I'm going to pursue through the court system remedies.
And Senator, we're still the USS Gerald Ford is the Navy's most advanced aircraft carrier. It's steaming, heading toward Venezuela right now.
I don't mean to be laughing, but I don't think they're just visiting the Caribbean.
Sure.
So
they're making their way towards Venezuela.
yeah, I think so.
With that being said, when there's concerns about the troop buildup, what the Trump administration might be doing, what concerns?
Well, I just talked to the president about
no foreign wars, and then here we have a troop buildup.
Yeah, I just talked to the president about what he's doing. This is not a foreign war. It's protecting America from being poisoned by drugs emanating from Venezuela. Maduro is not a legitimate leader of Venezuela, in my opinion. He stole the election from the opposition. He's indicted in American court for being a drug trafficker. I'd like to see him go down. These boats emanating from Venezuela full of drugs, I'm glad they're blowing them up, but that's not enough for me. In our backyard, we have a drug caliphate between Colombia, Venezuela, and Cuba. These three countries are in the narco-terrorism business. Hezbollah has a relationship with Venezuela, a Middle East terrorist organization of long standing, and it's increased as Iran gets weaker. They're turning to the drug traffickers to get their money, Hezbollah. So I think the president under Article 2 has all the power. He needs his commander-in-chief to interdict these boats and actually to strike on land. I don't consider this a legitimate government, but this is not the first time a president has taken on somebody in our backyard. Noriega, the leader of Panama, was taken out by George Bush 41. He literally invaded the country, took Noriega, put him in an American jail, and tried him in an American court because he's involved in drug trafficking, hurting our country. And this is exactly what's going on in Venezuela. I don't know if any troops will be used. I'm not so sure that's even necessary. But this show of force is beyond drug boats. I think the president has made a decision, I think rightly so, that Maduro's regime needs to come down. The lady who won the Nobel Peace Prize, the leader of the Venezuelan opposition, is cheering President Trump on. So, Mr. President, I have you back. Do what you need to stop these drugs from coming into the country.
But no troops on the ground in Venezuela.
I don't think that would be necessary, but I'll leave it up to him. We did it in Panama. The 82nd Airborne jumped in, took Panama down. Reagan did it in Grenada when they were building, the Cubans were building a big long runway in Grenada that had no good effect for us. So, yeah, he would not be the first person to use ground troops, but I don't think that's in the making right now. I do believe Maduro will go. that this show of force is designed to replace him, in my view, to get somebody in Venezuela that will represent the Venezuelan people and not drug traffickers, and make Venezuela a free country for the first time in a long time and make America safer. I'm hoping that's the end game. I'll let the president speak for himself. But this show of military force, I think, is going to have the intended effect.
Senator, can you talk with a little more detail about what the health care debate could look like in December?
Do what?
The health care debate.
Okay, I think it's going to be a debate worthy of a great nation. Republicans get criticized sometimes, rightly so, for complaining about health care, not having an alternative. We're going to give you an alternative. We're going to take the $35 to $50 billion that would go to insurance companies and try to allocate it in a way to help individuals more effectively, lower health care costs, and get better outcomes. That's going to be a good debate. Already you see some Democrats reaching out to some of our health care folks, senators who are really conversant in this, thinking about how to redirect the money. What we're not going to do is continue a practice of giving all the money to the insurance company and having your premiums double. We're going to find a way to deal them out and deal you in. You get better outcomes and will lower health care prices. That starts in December. Now here's what I hope. I hope we can find 60 votes to change the Obamacare subsidies more like I just described. And I think there's some Democrats that are willing to think outside the box.
Speaking of the CR, there's been some provisions in there that have gotten a bit of attention regarding the hemp industry.
Yes.
Yeah, some would say that the genie's already out of the bottle. To put these regulations in place now would, potentially decimate what's become a multi-million-dollar industry. Just curious about your
$25 billion. There's two things. I met a gentleman who does hemp oil, which is being used for people's seizures, and I want to hear them out. But apparently, in truck stops and other places, you can buy hemp products that literally give you a buzz, and it's unregulated. I did not feel comfortable with the bill presented to me. States are beginning to regulate it. I don't know where South Carolina is going to go, but right now the product out there, I think, is dangerous to the public, and we need to have a rational discussion about making sure if these products are going to exist, they're regulated and they're safe, and there's nothing stopping minors from buying these products. It's not like going into a liquor store where you got to be 21, and the effect of the THC is very real.
Do you expect Congress to discuss some changes to regulate the hemp industry?
I would think so. I don't think most South Carolinians would want a kid to go and buy a THC-laced beverage, underage. And that's one of the issues we're dealing with, and maybe we can find a solution to this problem. But I voted against Senator Paul because I thought it would create dangers to our country, and maybe we can find a compromise.
a little bit on a different track, but about a week ago, time flies, but you wrote a letter critical of Congresswoman Nancy Mace's treatment of airport workers.
Yeah, the letter was not about Nancy's experiences, but mine. And the reason I wrote the letter, I talked to Tim, is that the gateway to the Low Country is the Charleston Airport. I just gotten $40 million earmark, congressional directive expended to improve the road to the airport. It is very important to tourism and business, and I just wanted everybody to know that from my point of view, the people who run the airport, provide security, have been very professional, and it's a place you should not be worried about going to. I wanted to make that very clear. I'll let Nancy explain her experiences, but I wanted to make it very clear that I thought the Charleston Airport was well run, and the people there who provide security have always been very, very helpful to me.
Well, the reason I ask is because today she sent out guidance to people who signed on to a letter criticizing that, where she said that the protocols for official assistance in her district have been updated where, quote, federal, state, and local lawmakers who support the alleged spying of a sitting member of Congress by airport security and who support security breaches against a sitting member of Congress who receives thousands of death threats a year will no longer receive special or expedited privileges, essentially saying if they have a constituent query. They just have to go through the normal protocol as anyone does. And
So what happens, you see my security. When I go to the airport cops meet me and escort me through where the crew members go. And we sit around and get on the flight. Every now and then somebody will come up to the airport with a gripe. It's okay to talk, but they'll make a scene. So you try to keep low key, don't stand in lines, get through without drama. I think that system seems to work to me. The issue is the people and the way they behave. I think that's the issue in question. She apparently had a bad experience. I've had nothing but good experiences.
Senator, you are high profile. I see you on Sunday morning television every other Sunday.
Yeah.
Congressman Mace is probably up there.
Yeah, Tim Scott, all of us. Yeah.
But Congressman Mace often talks about how much threats she gets. I never see you talk about how many threats you get. Do you get a lot of threats, and are you really worried?
Well, I probably get my fair share. The point is, in today's world, as part of the job, Nancy's right. There's some pretty angry people out there. But what I try to do is do my job low key as possible, get through the system, appreciate people who do provide me security. I don't have a security detail day in and day out, but when I go to the airport, people help me through. I think the best thing we can do right now is show appreciation for those who do this. And, a lot of people have been working without pay. Every time I go through an airport, I apologize to the TSA officials. I'm sorry, we've turned your life upside down. So that's my approach. I mean, when somebody is there to help me, I want to say thank you. And I've had nothing but very good experiences all over this state. The men and women who provide security for the airport, who do the TSA agents, I think they have a lot to be proud of, and I am definitely proud of them. And I think the Charleston Airport, in my opinion, is one of the finest airports in the country.
Senator, looking ahead to next year, the Surface Transportation Reauthorization goes up in
Yes.
September. We just saw this horrible funding fight right here over just the CR. I was talking to SCDOT Secretary Justin Powell today just about the growth in our state, which you're well aware of. How big of a priority is this to make sure that gets reauthorized?
I'm the only person in the delegation, other than Congressman Clyburn, that actually directs money to be spent. It's a huge deal for me. During the campaign, I'm going to tell you what I've done to bring money back home, not only for the port, but for road projects, like 17 widening, I-77 for Myrtle Beach is just an absolute essential. It's a clogged place. But yeah, that bill allows us to direct money. And what I look at growth areas, like the Low Country and Beaufort area and the Grand Strand are cash cows for the rest of us in terms of tax revenue, sales tax revenue. When you have that situation, you want to make sure your airports are accommodating and you can get there safely and have a good experience. And when you invest money in that part of the state, you're getting a great return. Now, there are other parts of the state, like in Orangeburg County, you had two bridges about to fall down, on I-95. So I always work with Congressman Clyburn, who represents some of the poorest counties. What can we do to improve the quality of life, to make it more attractive to live there and do business? Road, water, and sewer are a very big part of this job for me. You may see me on Sunday TV, you may see me in Ukraine, you may see me in Israel, but I am very intent on making sure that our state, which is growing unlike almost any other state, that we're getting ahead of the game when it goes to road, water, and sewer. They're developing the river down here in Columbia. That's going to be an amazing, the Vista is going to be an amazing experience. I see my job as being a partner with state and local government to direct the money that's coming out of Washington to get the highest and best use here. This bill you're talking about is going to be a real opportunity for me to work with state and local officials to get money into projects that probably wouldn't make it otherwise.
Senator, regarding the impacts of the shutdown, today alone, many people were lined up outside Harvest Home Food Bank.
Yeah.
As a lawmaker, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, what do you say to those people who are not getting benefits?
I am sorry that we failed you. And let's just be honest, the Republicans shut down the government for 35 days years ago to get Democrats to build a wall. Well, we eventually built the wall. It was good policy. But what I've learned from this experience, if you got a policy debate, don't shut down the government to get an outcome. That's not a good way to legislate. There's no end to that. It's kind of political terrorism. And I would tell those folks, hopefully by tonight, the government will be up and running. And what I'm going to try to tell these people and everybody else in our state, that one way to prevent this in the future is for us to lose our pay. I cannot tell you how many conversations that go on behind closed doors about giving the money away, not getting paid. It's one thing to defer payment. Every government worker is going to get reimbursed. I don't think we should. We're the ones that caused this, not anybody working for the government. We can't muster the votes to keep the government funded. Then both parties who are involved in this should not get paid ever. You should forfeit pay. Now, I am doing well by, I grew up in Central and I've got nothing to complain of. I have a very good life and I appreciate it. I'm not independently wealthy, but I'm in good shape and I appreciate it. But $20,000 is a lot of money. And I can tell you right now, I should have given my money away. Not get it, give it away. And I've been trying to find a way to open the government. I voted to open the government. But if all of us had to forfeit our salary, you'd have less of this in the future. And I think you have to change the Constitution to get that outcome. If I never do anything else in this job, I'm going to push the hell out of this because I think it will matter to the future.
And Senator, what will you tell those people? I know that you said that the debate for the health care will be taken up in December, but after the tax credits are expired, a lot of Americans may...
These are subsidies, not tax credits. Here's what I would tell them.
But also, just remember that a lot of the premiums may double. So in the meantime, what do you say?
Yeah, the premiums have doubled already. You're sold a bill of goods. I would tell them I'm no longer going to continue to take taxpayer dollars and give it to insurance companies to get an inferior outcome. There's a better way. I'm going to take the same amount of money and flow it to people directly so they can have purchasing power they don't have today. You can't buy a house with it. You can't buy a car. It's going to be used to purchase health care, and it will create competition. These Obamacare exchanges are pretty much monopolies. I think we're going to create a very robust market. The more money you provide to people to make their own decisions, the better in terms of competition and outcomes. So I look forward to this debate. Follow what I'm saying. It's not that I don't want you to have health care. I want you to have affordable health care. I want to create a health care system that's sustainable, affordable, and has better outcomes. And what they promised about Obamacare has not borne fruit. It is not lowering premiums. They've over doubled, and it is not getting good outcomes. Insurance companies are the only big winner of Obamacare. Thank y'all.